Hello, my beautiful humans, and welcome to the Becoming Human 2.0 Unscripted podcast. I am your host, Paul McFadden, and it's my mission to create global impact and cultivate real connections through having authentic conversations that matter. Today, I'm joined by my special guest, Helia Ohani, another beautiful human from Toronto, Canada. In this episode, we discuss embracing the present and manifesting a fulfilling future. And of course, this conversation is completely unscripted. Here's a quick peek, and then we'll jump right into the conversation. So enjoy. And remember, we are all here to discover, awaken, and evolve together.
Self-identity and self-image is one of the most important lessons that I worked with my clients. It is be, do, have, meaning you first become that future version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Your identity, your whole belief system changes. And then when you become that person, you will take actions in harmony with that new version of you. So it's not that you have to push yourself to take an action. The action comes easily. It's an aligned action with your new version. Then you're going to have the things, the money, the success, the house, the partner, whatever it is.
Elia, hello there. Welcome.
Hi, Paul. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on. I've been talking to so many people around the world, and it's nice to have another beautiful human being to have a conversation with and talk about all things that people are probably having behind closed doors. But yet, I want to be able to have a conversation in front of folks and hopefully provide value and impact one person out there, make them see this experience to be something different than what they might believe it to be. So, welcome and thank you for standing on the stage. So, Helia, first, where are you from?
I'm originally from Iran, Middle East, but I have moved out of Iran many years ago. I first moved from Iran to Portugal, lived there for 6 years, and then I moved to Canada in 2012. And that's where I live. For me, that's home, Toronto, Canada.
That's awesome. I love the world exposure. It's so interesting. So, I used to be in the military back when I was 18, and I was in the Navy, and it was an opportunity to sail the world, encounter different people at a young age, and really see the world from a different perspective. Because I had a one world view where I was in the United States, but then when I got outside of the country, it expanded my perspective and opened up an entire level of curiosity for me. In which means when I came back to the States, I looked at everything a lot different. What was that experience like for you living in different countries? That's something I've never done before. So I'm really curious about that.
I love that. I love that. So to some people, it seems really overwhelming. It's a lot of work. Like you have to adapt to the whole new world, new rules, get your driver's license again, everything brand new, but it's just so exciting and refreshing. And it feels like you've been given a new life.
Man.
I can't wait to move to another country. I might do that. I don't know. But sometimes I feel like, no, it's enough. Keep your base. Just travel. You can travel. That's fine. And that's what I do. I love traveling. I'm a Sagittarius. I don't know if you or your audience believe in astrology, but it's part of my chart. It's traveling, seeing the world. But answering your question, when I first moved for the first time, I moved to another country from Middle East to Europe.
Mm.
That was a huge cultural shock. And I was young. I was 20, 21.
Wow.
I didn't know, that was not a very pleasant experience,
Mm.
specifically because I was not mentally ready. I didn't know what am I expecting for and what experiences am I going to get. And the most importantly, I didn't know the language. I didn't
Right.
know any Portuguese. I knew French and I knew English, but Portuguese doesn't have anything to do with Farsi or Portuguese or French. Nothing at all. Not even a word.
Right.
Well, I moved there with my ex, and he's the only person I know, and he works 13, 14 hours a day. and I'm alone, like
Mm.
completely isolated, no family, no friends, don't know the language. I go out and people are talking. I remember this experience. I think I will remember it for the rest of my life. I'm in a bus going from a grocery store to my home, and everybody starts saying something and laughing. And I'm the only one sitting there. So felt so weird. Like I have no idea what these people are talking about.
Left in
Uh,
the dark.
yeah. And that was so awkward. And I remember even like going to doctors, having some health issues. I had to call my ex and pass the phone back and forth between my ex and the doctor to
Mm.
translate what I'm going through and what the issue is. So really challenging part of my life for about 6 years. Actually, after a year or two, I started taking classes, learning Portuguese a little bit, but I had a lot of resistance. And so when you have resistance, you don't adapt. And I applied right away the first year. After the first year, I applied for Canada to get my citizenship, to get my residency in
Mm.
Canada. For 5 years, I was like in this limbo, just waiting and waiting. And this is something that I learned. Enjoy whatever you have in the present moment because everything is temporary. Don't always look for the next shiny object, the next goal, the next. It's so amazing to be goal driven, but I think sometimes we can become extreme and don't see the blessings that we have in the present moment. Why I'm saying that is because now many years after I look back and I'm like, I used to live in a paradise, one of the most beautiful cities. We used to live in Cascais. It's a small touristy village close to Lisbon.
Mm-hmm.
Within 15 minutes drive from my home was an area called Guincho, which is one of the most popular beaches for surfing. Surfers would come from all over the world. And I was miserable in my home, being really depressed, not enjoying the beach, not taking any surfing classes, just waiting and waiting to get my residency and move to Canada. And now I'm looking back and I'm in Canada. I'm grateful, but there's no beach here. The weather,
Right.
not, it can't even compare the nature and the weather. It's just like day and night different. And I'm like, why didn't I enjoy my moment? Because I was just looking for the future. And that's the lesson I learned. For example, right now, I'm going through a period of my life that something personally happened a year and a half ago, big shift. And I am again in that kind of isolation period of my life.
Mm.
But I have my sister and I have my nieces who live 10 minutes away from me. And I was away from them for the most of my life. You remember, I moved to Portugal, my sister back home for many years, like 15 years, we were apart with two different part of the country, world. And now I'm like, okay, I want I want to have this thing and that thing and go there. But what is it in my now that I can enjoy that I might not have it in a few years from now? Or
Right.
a few months, because I'm already thinking to move, sell my place, buy another one, which will be further from her.
Mm.
So I learned my lessons. And right now I'm spending a lot of time with my nieces. I just enjoy my weekends. My niece, the older one, is 15 and she really likes to hang out with me. She likes to spend time with me. And I appreciate that so much. And she comes over and we watched the whole Harry Potter movie like a few weeks ago, every Saturday. So this is what I love to do instead of going out or partying, which is fine. You can do that. What different phases of life requires different things.
Sure.
I've done that, but I value this. Sure, I want to manifest my soulmate, but I value this now over than going on dating apps and all those other things. So
Mm.
it has become really important to me to really see what is in your now moment and enjoy it because life changes all the time. My mentor, Bob Proctor, said change is the only constant.
That's
Life
right.
changes. You're not going to have what you have right now. So you might as well enjoy it. And then, of course, I moved from Portugal to Canada. That was another experience. I moved here alone on my own. I was 30 something years old, and I never worked before in my life. I never made money. So I had
Mm-mm.
to build my life from scratch, and a lot of learning and growing, which comes with challenges. And that's great. I encourage everyone to go after challenges. Don't run away from
Mhm.
difficulties, because that's how you build your character.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing so much of your story. What a beautiful lesson, right? And I think that what happens with a lot of people is that we're trying to move so fast and create so much and get to the next place that we forget to be grateful for what we have. And we've seen the trend. Everybody out there is looking for more abundance and more wealth, and people are selling meditations and programs to create abundance and manifest all this wealth. But yet, if you don't have some kind of practice around gratitude and being able to see what you have and be grateful for that thing that what you already have, it's really hard to create something new. Like, as human beings, we all have this desire to self actualize, which is really about achieving all of our goals in the pursuit of happiness. Right. But if you're not able to meet the basic needs, you don't jump from can't put food on the table to reach attaining all your goals and achieving happiness without some kind of practices and without some kind of methodology or process that you have to go through. And one of those is obviously a gratitude practice. And it seems like that's the lesson, right? And then many times we don't learn that lesson until it's well beyond the opportunity that we had. And most people learn that lesson when they're near end of life. And you start thinking about all the things that they could have had and the decisions that they could have made. And sometimes it ends with regret. And sometimes that ends with, I'm going to do it all now. Right. And hope that I can squeeze it all in. But I think it's beautiful that you had that experience. And like, I think I told you before we even started this conversation, well, when we first connected, was that, hey, we are here in this moment, and all the experiences that we had in the past lead to right now, whether they've been good or bad. You hadn't had that experience in Portugal, we probably wouldn't be talking right now. It
Yeah,
probably would never
I
be happening.
totally. I totally believe, like you, I don't believe in good or bad. There is no bad. There's just your soul needs to go through some experiences. What we call bad or painful, why, it's just a human definition of things that we don't want. But just because you're human doesn't want something doesn't mean it is not good for, or necessary for your soul. Most of
Mhm.
the time, the pain and the things that we don't want to go through are actually the things that our soul needs for its
Right.
evolution. And I always give this analogy of, if you sit on your couch, you don't go to the gym, you're not going to see muscles, you're not going to see definitions, you're not going to see a six pack. Now,
Mhm.
if you start going to the gym and you feel the pain in your body, you really have to feel the pain, and you break and you tear the muscles in order to create a bigger muscle, more stronger muscle.
Right.
It's the exact, some of the rules of the soul and spirituality is the exact same thing as the physical body. So the same that your physical body needs to go through pain in order to become stronger and better, your soul needs to go through pain in order for you to become a better version of you, more conscious, more aware, more understanding, more wise. So don't run away from the hardship, and don't, that's to me like the comfort zone. I was talking to someone a few days ago. Comfort zone to me equals danger zone.
Danger zone. Yeah,
Because
I love it.
it's like Bob Proctor said, it's you're either growing or disintegrating. There is no going sideways. When someone says, yeah, I'm comfortable, I'm doing great in life, I'm just gonna do what I'm doing. It's not like you're not gonna stay at the same level that you are right now. You're gonna go down if you're not growing and expanding.
That's right. That's right. I love that. I do a lot of speaking around the topic of purpose, and I started telling individuals and folks, Hey, I think fundamentally, purpose for everyone is about growing and giving, growing yourself and giving to others. How you do that, however, is what you're being called to do, what your soul is called to do. So, how you grow yourself may be different than the way I grow myself. How I give and how you give will certainly be different. But the idea is that if we are working in purpose and we understand that growth is necessary, that's when we get to fulfill and live our quote unquote dreams, right? We get to live the life and become the creator of the life that we'd like to see for ourselves. And purpose. What's purpose mean for you?
Before I answer your question, you said something that is really good. We're talking about purpose and goal. And I was just a few minutes ago talking about enjoying whatever you have in the present moment. And I want to say that these two actually, not only they don't contradict, they're actually the same thing. If you want to get to your purpose, if you want to achieve more, become more wealth, more health, more love, more prosperity, whatever it is that you want, you have to be grateful with your now, with
Yes.
whatever you have right now. If you are not grateful right now and you're miserable and you're waiting for that thing and you think, I'm going to get happy when I get there, that's never going to happen. Guaranteed. Never. Because we are manifesting how we are and how we are feeling. So if your feeling is not the feeling of gratitude and happiness and joy, you're never going to feel that, even if you get your goal.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a wonderful thing and connection to make. I had shared with some folks that I was working with back in November. I said, what I'm sensing and what I'm picking up, and this is something I've been picking up for a while, but what I'm picking up in the world is there are a lot of people in the world that are expecting the world to change for them, for someone else or something else to do it for them, right? It's not going to take me any effort. I'm just going to put this thing out to the universe and to God or whatever the belief system is, but the spiritual belief system. I'm just going to put it out there and this is going to happen for me. I'll just wait for it to happen with no effort. And I said, what would better serve people? Because if you're waiting for that, like you just said, it's never going to happen. It doesn't. I will do this once this thing changes for me. That's not going to happen unless you do something yourself. And I said, it would serve us better if we went inward and started looking at the world within and start changing and impacting the things within, creating practices for ourselves so that we can change ourselves. And when we change ourselves, that will have a direct reflection on the outer world and the way we show up with the outer world. And then because of that, the outer world will change for us. But it starts with the individual changing themselves and seeing themselves as a personal world changer. And then we can have an impact on the world. And then the world shifts around us. All the things that we want to manifest and we want to have come to us will come to the frequency that we're on. But if
Yeah,
we're
it's like,
go ahead.
oh, sorry to interrupt. I just remembered the analogy of it's like standing in front of the mirror and asking the mirror to change the image reflection. Never
Right.
happen. You
It's
have
never
to
gonna
do
happen.
it first. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the connection of when thinking about that. What drives you?
Yes, you asked me about my purpose. So purpose
Yeah.
and drive. So I was someone who was always I'm always curious. I'm always curious and I'm always looking for more. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I want to encourage everybody to do that because our essence is soul. And the soul, the spirit is for expansion and fuller expression. The whole universe is for expansion and fuller expression. So it is part of your soul that desires
Mm.
more knowledge, more wisdom, becoming a better version of yourself, having more wealth. There's nothing wrong with that. And we have so many wrong programming about money. That's another conversation. Um, but so I've always wanted to do more, be more. What is my purpose? Why am I here? The questions that we ask. Why am I here? What is happening? What is the purpose of life? And I think I finally found my purpose just recently, a few years ago, and that's what I do. I teach Bob Proctor's teachings on manifestation, mindset, the power of mind, subconscious reprogramming.
Mm.
And I am passionate about teaching people, reminding them really, because your soul knows. You just have
Mm.
to gotten because of your programming. Reminding them that you can be, do, have absolutely anything you want. Just actually the fact that you want something is because your soul is calling you and the fulfillment of that thing is calling you. If that was not the case, you wouldn't even have that desire in your consciousness, in your heart. So if you
Mm,
want something, that thing is already here, it's already created, and the fulfillment of that is calling you. There is no past, present, or future. There's actually, sorry, there's no past or future. Past or future exists in our mind because that's what we need to be able to function in this world, is present, infinite present moment. So what you want in the future is actually here right now on a different frequency, on a
right.
different consciousness. Don't want to get into parallel lives because that's another subject. But
Oh, we can get in there. We can do that.
just know in your heart that what you want already exists here energetically, vibrationally.
Mhm.
And if you are not there yet, it is just because of some limiting beliefs that you can work on and remove, and then you will get there. So I'm very passionate about helping people to find out, first of all, what is it that you want? Because a lot of time, unfortunately, a lot of people don't even know what they want. They want something, but that's what their parents ask them to do, or their partner expect them to do, or their children expect them to have or be. So first of all, find out what is it that you love. Doesn't matter if you don't know how to get there. You actually are not supposed to know how to get there, because if you knew, there would be no growth.
Mm,
So know what is it that you love to do every day, and then help them through the teachings of Bob Proctor to unlock those limiting beliefs in their subconscious, reprogram the subconscious, reprogram the self-image, and step into that person, step into that identity, and therefore attract things. You were just talking about how people expect things to be given to them, and or they think if I have that thing, then I will feel better. We were talking about that. It's the other way around.
mm,
It is not to have it and then I will do it and then I will become it, to become happy or become whatever. You have to be first. So self identity and self image is one of the most important lessons that I worked with my clients. It is be, do, have, meaning you first become that future version of yourself.
mhm,
Your identity, your whole belief system changes. And then when you become that person, you will take actions in harmony with that new version of you. So it's not that you have to push yourself to take an action. The action comes easily. It's an aligned action with your new version.
mhm.
Then you will gonna have the things, the money, the success, the house, the partner, whatever it is. So I hope I answered your question.
No, I love it because there's a lot of nuggets there to unpack. So, for folks who don't know who Bob Proctor is, and you can certainly fill in the blanks. I know him from the movie The Secret, right? And that's when I first encountered a Bob Proctor. He was out talking about manifestation well before that movie. But I know that was my first introduction to Bob Proctor. But from your perspective, since you've worked more directly with him and with his work as well, who is Bob Proctor?
I am biased. I love him. He was such a legend. And I've taken, as I said, I'm a very curious person and I'm always looking for betterment. I love this word betterment.
Mhm,
And I'm a better version of myself. Even since I was a young girl, I was always reading personal development books.
mhm,
And I, like you, I met Bob first time I got to know about him from the movie The Secret. And then I didn't do anything until recently, a few years ago, when I was in real estate. I took his program, which completely shifted my real estate business, helped me to become an award winning agent in my office, tap into luxury real estate. And then when I really learned about his program, because I took it, I became so fascinated by it. And then I left real estate, and the coaching is what I've been doing full time for the last 4 or 5 years. But Bob, so I have taken different programs, Tony Robbins programs, Joe Dispenza. I've been fascinated with teachings of Abraham Hicks for a while. And these are all amazing people. But to me, Bob's personality and his wisdom and his gift to the world is so comprehensive because it is both personal development, strategies, mindset, creating your business, making more money. One of the things, for example, he teaches is how to make in 1 month what you make in the whole year and how to do
Mm,
that again and again. So 12 times your income. But also, what I love about his teachings is that there is a lot of spirituality. There is
mhm,
a lot of, he talks about the laws of the universe. He talks about infinite intelligence. He
mm,
talks about how our essence is pure source energy living in this body. So it encompasses both spirituality and personal development and mindset and business. And I feel like it's complete. It is perfect. And he was such a giver. He always, his mission was to create a better world, which I think he did. And he passed away a few years ago, but his legacy is still going on. His coaches, licensed coaches like myself, who still teach his programs. And I think this is going to continue forever. He was very persistent. One of his
mm.
characteristics, he read the same book. He read many books, but the same book, Think and Grow Rich, he read
Yes.
every single day for 60 something years. Like
Yeah.
about persistent. And it was very in tune. He had a very aligned, he was connected to his soul. And yeah, I can go on and talk about who he was, but he changed millions of lives through his teachings, through his programs, through his coaches. And
Yeah.
I feel him. I connect with him every time I have a coaching call. I connect with him. I ask for guidance. Was such an amazing human being.
Yeah. I think like the description, when you take the person off of the description, it's really about he had a balanced life. He had balance spiritually, he had balance physically, mentally, emotionally, and he was present. He was tuned in, and he took the knowledge that he gained and then shared it, right, in a way that was meaningful. That was not only impactful but left a legacy. And I think that's what I'm pulling him out from the story, and that's really the message that I'd like to convey with individuals is that when we find ourselves in this space where we're balanced, right? Because we can all look out the window and see chaos, right? And I'm always the first person to say, when you see chaos on the outside, there's chaos on the inside, right? And so if you can balance out the chaos that's going on the inside, you're going to have a different perspective of what's going on the outside, right? And you can make better choices about how you're going to adapt and navigate that experience. But what I see is that when I look at this from a humanity perspective, there are folks who are in a space where it's chaos or it's all rainbows and unicorns, right? It's like these two extremes, these two polar ends. And what's interesting about it is that my perception and your perception are all realities. It's like your reality space for you. But if we can jump outside of that more energetically, we're all having this experience because it's part of the process. I love what you said earlier around we have to experience the pain in order to change and grow physically, but we have to do the same thing from a spiritual perspective. We do the same thing emotionally. We do the same thing mentally. But it's all connected. The
Mhm.
process is the same process. The laws of nature are the laws of nature. Unfortunately, we don't all have a base understanding of the laws of nature. It's there. Our spirit knows it. Our soul knows the laws. But in this physical experience, we're not aware of it. I also love how you talked about how all the things we want to manifest, those things are already here. It's like we're just not on the same frequency with it. So it's more about tuning into the frequency that we need to be in. Or I hate to say the word need and supposed to be and have to be, because it's like there's things that better serve us, right? If we don't like the experience we're having, we need to choose an experience that's going to better serve us. But then you have to also believe that we have choice and we have the ability to shift and change the frequency that we're in. I always connect frequency with our emotional states because the emotional states determine what frequency you're going to be in. But then in order to shift that, you got to have some sort of practice. It's not just, I have people ask me all the time, how do I change my emotional state? I was like, what do you do to change it? Do you know what, do you have a base understanding of when you're in a specific emotional state, what that feels like to the body? What are the thought process that you're having when you're in that state? And if you can recreate that, so it's not just thinking about it. I'd love to be in joy, but if you don't know what joy feels like, can you really experience it? So it's almost like you have to experience it to know it, but then can you recreate it? Now we all have the ability to do so, but if you're trying to make it practical, what are some ways someone could shift their frequency that they can go out and start practicing now? Because I do realize and understand it's a practice, it's not a one-time thing. There's consistency and there's a practice. So how would one shift their frequency per se?
I love that you mentioned that it is a practice. It is not a one thing or you do it for a couple of minutes a day. I want to talk about frequency and emotions shortly, but I just remembered. So there is a lot of people who watched the movie The Secret, which talked about the law of attraction, which is amazing, but you cannot learn the whole manifestation in 1 hour, 1 hour and a half movie. So a
Mhm.
lot of people watched that and they created vision boards and it didn't work for them and they got disappointed and they throw the whole thing to the garbage and they think that that's BS, law of attraction doesn't work. It's not that. It is a process. It requires consistency, daily practices, different practices. Like I am constantly adding to my practices and also removing the things that are not helpful in my life. So you need to constantly do these practices daily to change your frequency. And you're absolutely right, Paul. Your frequency is the same as your vibration, which is the same as your emotion, your emotional state. And the law of attraction that The Secret talked about is actually the secondary law. The
Mhm.
primary law is the law of vibration.
Mhm.
Everything vibrates. Everything. If you put anything, even a rock, a stone under a microscope, there's movement. Nothing is solid. It just looks solid to our eyes. And this is
Mhm.
science. Everything vibrates on different frequencies. We vibrate on different frequencies as well. And based on the law of vibration, we attract different things, people, experiences that are in harmony with that vibration. Now, the question is if I want to manifest better things, I need to change my vibration, as we just talked about, and change my frequency. How do I do that? So, what Bob talked about and I learned is how you are feeling comes from. So, so he divides the mind into two parts. There's so many parts to the mind, of course, but his main teachings are about conscious and subconscious.
Yes.
Feeling is subconscious is the same as your feeling. However, you're feeling, this is in your subconscious. And where does that feeling come from? From your conscious mind, from your thoughts. So pay attention to how you've been thinking, what you have been thinking about leading up to how you are feeling right now, negative or positive. And if you start becoming aware of your thought patterns, then you will be able to change them slowly. It's a practice. If you've been in a negative feeling for a long time, you can't switch your thoughts like this and become happy all of a sudden. It takes practice. So it is the main thing that Bob teaches is that your feeling comes from how you're thinking. So first you think a thought and then you feel a certain way. And then based on your emotion and feeling, you act in a certain way and then you attract.
Yes.
Just thinking, feeling, acting. But also, what I have learned, this is not something that Bob teaches, but I have learned through my own experience with my clients is that another way of shifting how you feel, which sometimes is easier, I had this conversation recently with my coaching clients. Like she said, sometimes I feel down, sometimes I'm really hyped and motivated, and sometimes I don't feel like that. And sometimes it's hard for me to change my thoughts. So what
Mm,
do we do in this case? We start from the body.
mm,
We move our body. We put on a music and we dance. We go
mm.
for a walk. We go have a workout. Even if it is 10 minutes walk around the block, that's going to change our state of being.
Yeah.
You shift, you move. Those are one of the things that Tony Robbins teaches.
It's
Yeah,
physiology. Hmm.
physiology, exactly. That also shifts your vibration, and then you start thinking better thoughts. So it's thoughts, feeling, actions, and feelings like in the middle. You can shift it by thinking different thoughts, or you can shift it by moving your body, walking, dancing, jumping, taking a cold shower.
Mm,
I always feel great after a workout. It's science. It releases happy hormones in your brain.
yeah.
But these are the practices that, again, to your point, we need to do these not once a week, daily, daily practices, stacking these habits. Either it's working out, walking, thinking positive thoughts, writing down affirmations, gratitude, and you do it daily for, let's say, 30 to 90 days. And then you see how your life is going to change.
No, I love it. And I want folks to understand that they're practical practices. I bring in ancient wisdom and ancient practices with and integrate that with the science and integrate that with like lifestyle choices that we all make. And what's interesting is that it's not, these aren't new, innovative activities. There's some activities that have been around for thousands of years that all support and serve what we're talking about, how we change our state, whether that's movement, walking, meditation, yoga, prayer. We have all these tools at our disposal, but yet we treat them as though, yeah, I don't need to do that. Or, oh, that's the spirituality. That's that stuff. We're not going to do the stuff. Oh, that's the religious thing. I don't want to do this prayer thing. I don't believe in all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, these are the practices that have been left to us by our ancestors and the folks before them and the folks before them that have been very effective. Certainly now that these days we mainstream them, people monetize them in a way that I would say in some respects misappropriates the use of the practices because we don't understand them. And so people, I love when people say, "Why I do yoga so I can move," and I was like, "What about the rest of it?" There's more to it than just the asanas. I got it. The asanas are great and you feel good, but what else are you doing? And so I think that practices, I call them rituals because I think I do them. I like people to do them with intention, right? And so they can be in alignment.
I just wanted to add something that you said, which is great, which is sometimes we feel like, oh, what is the next shiny object that I can do and then miraculously manifest myself into the next best life? And it's not about that. So one of the
Mm,
things that Bob teaches is that it is not about doing certain things. It is not about doing certain things. It is about doing things in a certain way.
mm,
Same practices, but doing it with intention. Same
mhm,
practices, as you said, that we know from our ancestors, but doing them consistently, doing them daily, doing them with intention. And specifically these days, I feel like we need more of those simple things because we are so brainwashed, all of us, with
mhm.
social media. And technology is amazing. I love technology. I don't have anything against technology or AI, and I don't think AI is going to take over and kill us. But we are not taking control of our lives.
Mm,
Majority of people, we are in control of social media. You open happens to me all the time. And I'm not on social media scrolling. I want to go to Facebook, for example, and post something, create a content, deliver something valuable. And then I found myself lost for a few minutes scrolling because I saw something interesting and I'm now down the rabbit hole.
Yes.
It's the way that these apps are designed, which is very smart, but you have to know that actually those simple practices, the walking, the working out, the meditation, the yoga, your gratitude practices, those are the things that you need to double down on,
Mm.
especially this day and age. And those
Especially.
practices that are going to make a difference in your life. There is no magic one. There is no some magical practice that you can do. Each and every one of us need to reprogram the subconscious mind, which comes with one word that Bob emphasized on that word so many times is repetition.
Mm. Mhm.
And we are so impatient these days because of instant gratification, the culture of instant gratification that we are living in right now. But the key to change is repetition. You do your practices daily.
Yes. Slowing down and repetition, I think, are the main takeaways. And I like the practices that we're talking about because ultimately these things are simple practices, right? Not saying it's not easy because, yeah, we all fight the social media attraction, right? We're all addicted to the devices, the technologies. I feel like humanity's at a precipice of one, we could give away our humanity to technology. We could. There are a lot of people that are dependent upon it. And I think there's nothing wrong with the technology when you start thinking about it. These are the tools that can help us be more efficient and more effective. That's the way the brain is structured. The brain is structured to make the things that we do more efficient and more effective. That's why we have programs that have been running since the time that we were born. We learn certain behaviors and then those things are programmed, and that's the operating system that's running. The moment that we stop being present, we get distracted from the presence, and then the program comes on. And whatever that is, those programs that we learned, those are the ones that run in the back. And those programs might service or they might not service. But if we don't go inward, we never receive what those programs are. And if we wait for people on the outside to tell us our programs, we don't believe them. Which is amazing because we don't want to hear that, hey, the program you're running is actually is causing me to react to you this way because we're all doing that stuff non-consciously. So I find it fascinating, but it goes back to the point that we highlighted in the beginning. The only time that really exists is right now. And it would serve us better if we were able to be present more often so we can see what the choices are that we have in front of us and we can see that this may or may not be serving me and make better decisions about where we go next and not worrying about the future. And certainly the past is the past has already happened. You can't change it, right? We can rewrite it in terms of how we remember it, but it doesn't, the past is the past. There's nothing that we can do about it. Those things, those events, experiences have happened. Hopefully we've learned from them. If we're not, we're going to experience them again until we do. Future is never promised, but it's nice to have visions. It's nice to have a goal. It's because it gives us a place to point and shoot for. But the only time that really does matter is right now.
Love that.
If, yeah. If you had, I know we're coming up close to an hour, so I certainly want to respect the time, but I certainly appreciate you being here and sharing your thoughts and insights and certainly your story. Um, if there was one thought or one idea that you would like to leave for folks to really embody and consider, what would that be?
Something that just came to my mind is that if you are, for all of us, I think we always want to, most people want to have something better, live a better life, have a better relationship, have more money, more material stuff, more freedom. Whatever it is that you want, again, to the point that we talked about a few minutes ago, since everything is in the present moment, there is no past or future. The thing that you want is already here and it's manifested. One of the things I love about Neville Goddard, he talks about the creation is already done. You look at it in terms of spirituality or even science. So in science says everything is energy. We talked about everything is, if you put it on the microscope, is movement, is energy. And what is energy? Energy just is. It's never been created, will never be destroyed. Theology says the same thing. God is never been created, will never be destroyed. And the creation is finished. So even in religion, they say creation has been, God created the world in 7 days. That's what they say in different belief systems. So there is no energy a new energy being created. God is not sitting there creating new things, new scenarios. Everything already is,
Mm-hmm.
including your wish, including your desire, already exist. One of the most, there is so much to manifest. But I think the most important thing for people who are watching or listening is that repeat that to yourself every day, because it gives you more and more consciousness and awareness that creation is already done and your wish and desire is already fulfilled energetically. The only thing that is stopping it from coming and slowing it down is your doubt.
Mm.
Doubt is more dangerous than fear. It is
Mm.
more dangerous than procrastination. It is the root cause of why the things that you want are not happening. Because
Mm.
you working on your desire, you're taking actions, you're maybe doing some of the practices that we talked about on this call, and you're not seeing the results when you want to see the results, and you start bringing doubt into equation. And that's when you destroy everything, because your doubt, you're attracting more doubt. So
Yeah.
you're stopping your goal from your desire coming. So work on your, I love the word certainty. I love
Mm-hmm.
the word faith. I love the word believe, knowing, trusting. Just you have to daily remind yourself that your goal is already here, your wish is already fulfilled, and in a physical form, 3D form, it comes whenever it is supposed to come. The timing is not up to me and you. The timing is up to the universe. And work on your faith and knowing.
I love that. I think that's a great place to pause the conversation. I know there's so many different places that we can go into. I certainly want to invite you back to continue the conversation. So if you would honor me that with your presence, I'd love to have you back for sure. Elia, it's been such an amazing experience and this has been a great conversation. Thank you for going deep on some of these topics and sharing your story um, and your final thoughts. And with that, I look forward to having continued conversation with you.
Thank you so much for having me and for the opportunity. And of course, I look forward to our next call.
Awesome. Thank you very much.